Seems like yesterday when I ain't had no luck. Seems like yesterday when I ain't had no bucks. Seems like yesterday when the world ain't got no buffers. Yeah, yesterday, happy yesterday, and today I'm waiting.
They just give on to me. After the breakup, I got it. We started at the country. I've been in counseling sermons and churches, but still I can't get these niggas deep inside of me. What's my philosophy? How'd I get the world to rock with me? How'd I get this killer following? How'd I go from being known in Panorama City to being famous on Broadway? Never was mine. I don't go to bed as early. I'll be up all night up until 7:30 in the morning. My legacy's legendary. You won't ever catch it.
So for this video, we'll be reviewing the 2018 BMW M2. Several important reasons why. One, it's an M2 and we're a bit late reviewing it. And two, for next year, for 2019, the M2 is actually getting the engine from the M3 and the M4. This, of course, is essentially just a hopped up version of this standard 235i, 240i turbocharged 6-cylinder engine. It's not truly an M engine. And that's the thing with the M2, just like the previous 1M. It's kind of a Frankenstein car, kind of a mix of a bunch of different parts throughout BMW's parts bin. The reason why the M2 interests me is because when we drove the M3 a couple years ago, I found that it was just a little bit dull. Now, that's not to say it was slow or anything like that, but it was just a little bit detached. It felt a little bit, I don't know, kind of like a video game almost. And so it just kind of left me feeling dissatisfied because, of course, previous generation M3s like the E92 with the big V8 or even the E46 with its screaming straight six, that felt raw, it felt purpose-driven. It just felt like a proper race car that was just slightly detuned for the road, which was, of course, always the point of BMW M cars. But the M2 is supposed to be a true return to form for BMW. It's supposed to be smaller, lighter than the M4, much more lively, a lot more tactile. And so let's see if that's the case. So what do we have? M2, 3-liter turbocharged 6-cylinder, 365 horsepower, I think 343 pound-feet of torque. Torque all the way through the power band. I mean, it's insane. It starts full torque at 1400 RPM, so it pulls any gear. Next year when the M2 gets more power, we'll see how that handles. But the nice thing is the M3 and M4 always seems to be a little bit squirrely. It doesn't seem to quite put its power down. But this, I think having a little bit less horsepower has really kind of helped make the car feel a little bit more stable. So how does the M2 handle? Really well, obviously. It's a BMW, of course. A little bit more tactile than the M3 that we drove a couple years ago. Steering's a little bit more direct. It's still kind of lacking in feel. It still feels kind of artificial and detached. But the weight of it is a lot better. For the 2018 models, you still don't get the adjustable steering weight, but it's weighted fine for what it is. You know, I don't need it to be any heavier. What I really care about is feedback, and just not as much as I would prefer. The other funny thing is, when we were planning the shoot, I originally thought that the M2 that we were filming had a manual transmission. I talked to the owner last night about coordinating picking up this car, and then I come to find out that it's actually optioned with a dual clutch. And even he has been slightly disappointed with that option. He kind of really regrets not getting the manual. Although it's not a bad transmission, far from it, it's very fast at shifting. It just doesn't offer that satisfying control that a manual transmission I know would have given me on this same exact road with all this power and with this chassis. And that's the thing with a lot of these modern vehicles. There's so much technology in them to make them faster, better lap times, and all that. And it's just, sometimes I feel like it's kind of missing the point. Even the manual transmission on this car is missing the point because it will automatically rev match downshift for you unless you turn off the stability control. Why do I need to turn that off in order for me to drive the manual like it's supposed to be? I don't need it rev matching for you, but I'd like for the car to help me not kill myself because it is a fairly powerful rear-wheel drive car. Just the driver involvement just missing a little bit, and I think it's because the electronics kind of create this barrier in between you and the mechanics of it all. It just doesn't feel analog anymore. So where does that leave us as car enthusiasts? Well, in an era where crossovers are selling more and more, causing companies like Ford to stop selling their sedans and whatnot, you know, where does it leave us as enthusiasts for fun two-door sports cars? Is there a market for them anymore? Take a look at our BMW X3 video that we did. Phenomenal car, great space, drives brilliantly, but at the end of the day, it's still just a fast mall-mobile, you know, but it will outsell cars like this. And the reality of it is companies need to make decisions that make the most financial sense to them. I get it. What that means is the few enthusiast cars that these companies make, we as enthusiasts have to purchase these cars to show them that, hey, we still want vehicles like this. We want a powerful rear-wheel drive BMW coupe. You know, just give us a little bit less electronic interference and we'll be even happier. But I'm so glad that cars like this still exist, and you know, we have a voice as enthusiasts, and we have to show our voice by buying these cars. So overall, where do I stand with the M2? It's a fantastic vehicle, handles great, meets most of my expectations of what I expect a BMW to be. But this is a call to action. This is a very important moment right here. BMW, for your next M car, whether it be the next M2, next M3 or 4, or whatever you want to name it, if you want to come up with a new one, focus on the little details. Focus on the driving dynamics. You know, don't get so caught up on a horsepower race with all the other companies out there. Traditionally, a BMW M car wasn't the fastest 0-60 car anyways. It was always the best handler. Focus on stuff like that. You know, focus on what makes you guys the ultimate driving machine.